And with the BBC News at 10 o'clock, this is Stephen Davis. The head of the education regulator, Ofsted, has defended the way school inspections are carried out in England after a head teacher killed herself in January. Ruth Perry took her life while waiting for the publication of a report downgrading Caversham Primary in Reading to inadequate. Amanda Spielman acknowledged that there is a culture of fear within schools around inspections, but confirmed today that the one-word grading system will stay. The former Shadow Home Secretary Diane Abbot has been suspended by Labour after suggesting the Jewish and Irish people and travellers did not experience racism. She's since apologised and withdrawn the remarks, which appeared in today's Observer newspaper. Our political correspondent Layla Nassu says this could be difficult for Labour.
Keir Starmer has tried, one of his central missions has been to try and disassociate Labour from anti-Semitism. He has tried to be decisive here, so the issue doesn't rear its head again. It will be interesting to see if she is allowed to return to the Parliamentary Labour Party down the line now that she's apologised.
A man's due before magistrates in Derby tomorrow, charged in connection with a dog attack that left another man dead. Police shot the dog after it attacked 51-year-old Wayne Stevens. Gary Stevens, who's 53, has been charged with being in charge of an out-of-control dog. The government says it is working with mobile operators to learn lessons after many smartphone users complained they did not receive today's nationwide emergency test alert. Millions of people across the UK heard a loud alarm at 3 o'clock, but the technology journalist Will Guyot said many others reported problems.
Many people on the network 3 have not received the alert. Anecdotally, an awful lot of people who expected the alert, hadn't silenced it, had the right kind of devices, also say they haven't received it. So this doesn't look as though it's been completely perfect.
Football, Manchester United are through to the FA Cup final. They beat Brighton 7-6 on penalties after a 0-0 draw at Wembley. They'll play local rivals Manchester City in the final. Newcastle have taken another step towards Champions League qualification thanks to a 6-1 win over Tottenham in the Premier League. Elsewhere, West Ham are up to 13th after a 4-0 win against Bournemouth. West Ham manager David Moyes said his side had improved recently.
Well, I think we're looking more clinical now. We're scoring goals. Last year we could score, the last couple of years we could score. So overall we started to get a bit more like ourselves. So really pleased with how they're performing. We hope we can build on it. We certainly didn't start the season well, so if we can finish the season well, then it'll bode well for what we've got coming up.
And the Kenyan Kelvin Kiptum has won the men's race at the London's Marathon in a record course time. That's the BBC News. It's 3 minutes past 10.
BBC Radio Manchester.
Sparky. Oh, Sparky.
Who's that?
Sick.
That bloke on the news said that the emergency alarm wasn't heard by everybody, so it wasn't completely perfect. You can't be partially perfect. You're either perfect or you're less than perfect. They're into very nearly perfect. Yeah, you can be that, but you can't be partially perfect. It was a bit perfect, yeah. The rest of it wasn't, but there was a bit of it that, I don't know, it's nonsense. Good evening, how are you? I'm Alan Beswick, and this is the Alan Beswick Late Night Phone-In. We're here until 1 in the morning, and you're more than welcome to join us on 0800 218 2255. Personally, I didn't hear the alarm, but not using a mobile phone does sort of hold you back. But in Wales, where I happen to reside, they had the old school late for school excuse, and that is, I was a bit late. I didn't hear it in time. So the test run to let us all know that we're all going to be fried in 4 minutes' time. So get under the table sharpish, or 10 minutes after sharpish if you live in Wales. It was late getting there. Yeah, and not everybody heard it. And now the bad news, because that's quite funny. You're probably not as cynical as me, but it made me giggle that everybody heard it. And then I realised that because not everybody heard it, they're going to have to do the whole blessed thing again, aren't they? We're going to have another day, sometime in the non-too-distant, when it's all going to happen again. And if there were people on holiday in Blackpool from foreign lands, I know it could happen, but don't look at me like that. It could happen. If there were people on holiday and they were on the relevant net, because when you... I could be talking out my hat here again, but when you go away with your mobile phone to another land, my wife uses one, and when you go about, it says you are now on the network. It doesn't say hiddly, but I don't know what words it does say. So you're now on the foreign version of us network. Huh? So one would hope and expect that if you were in Blackpool from France, assuming you got through border control and you didn't come on a canoe, they'd let you if you come on a plane or something. Anyway, from America or from anywhere. And there you are in Blackpool with your phone on a British network, and they decide to send you this message, you're going to be mighty surprised. You go, what's going on? Wouldn't you? So we need to sort that out as well. We don't want foreigners getting saved. We're not having that. Good Lord, it goes against everything some people stand for. Anyhow, there you have it. So I never heard it. Turns out, I did thousands upon thousands of others, which, it was a test. It was a trial. So, they have to work it out. It's not going to work straight away. No. So there, that's that. I've got that off my chest now, so that's good. There's a worldwide search going on for the World Cup winning England captain's football shirt. Yeah, him. Exactly, him. The one which he collected he was wearing it when he went up the steps at Wembley and then over that way and walked along a bit and said, hello, Majesty, give us the cup, we're in all right. And I'll have my badge and all. Yeah, doing that, going along, Bobby Moore. And his shirt's gone missing. It's just disappeared into the ether. Which is interesting, because if my memory serves me correctly, it's not the first time that his name has been linked to dodgy goings-on in respect of shirts. He was once arrested, he wasn't in Bogota. Who gives a Bogota? On suspicion of stealing one. Or actually, it might not have been a shirt, it might have been a diamante bracelet, and it was all sorted out anyway. And as you've just heard in the news, Diane Abbott has been suspended from the Labour Party because she said something stupid in an article in The Observer. She said that white people, such as Jewish people or travellers or all sorts of others, they have lots of differences, but they haven't really suffered racism. The prejudices against them are not racism, she said. Well, she may be right, I don't know. She may be wrong, but she's withdrawn her remarks unreservedly. So she thought she was right, and now she thinks she was wrong, or at least she doesn't want to tread on any toes after she's trodden them like a big stamp and broken well. Poor lass. It's words, you see, words. She should have took to maths. She's much better at that, isn't she? Is she not? Oh, well, she's knackered then. And we heard in the news as well, another dog, another day, another dead person. This time it's in Derby, which is an awful lot of D's. And when somebody complimented his wife on the dress she was wearing, Prince William responded, "Oh, she always looks stunning." So she Mrs. William turns out in a fancy frock, probably one of her best, or one of somebody's best, turns out in a fancy frock. And so, "I like your dress, madam." And Prince William butts in and says, "Oh, she always looks stunning." Now, I've got a question. Is that a nice thing to say in that precise circumstance? Is it a bitchy thing to say? Is it jealous? I'm going to be king. She's just an hanger-on. I could dump her tomorrow. She could get killed in a car crash. It's happened before. Any of that? Or was it, "Look, it's me. I'm going to be king, not her." So, was it nice? Oh, my lovely wife, she always looks lovely. Was it bitchy? Hey, what about me? Was it jealous? Was it supportive? Just passive-aggressive? I can't decide. That means he was on deaf and dumb breakfast for a couple of weeks. Or maybe not. Maybe he said, "Oh, he's lovely, isn't he?" I don't know. Still with the royals, the Proclaimers, marvellous band, have been dropped from the King's official coronation play for their anti-royal views. They must be devastated. They'll probably take their bat and ball home. Well, they would if they didn't have to. I know it wasn't their best song, but it was stretched, pulled and tugged a bit, it was appropriate, so that was all right. Anyway, if you want to join us, we're here till 1. The number's 0800 218 2255. The subject matter is entirely yours to choose. We got Talat producing tonight. We got Luke taking your calls, Jason working the buttons, and me doing my usual talking nonsense until 1. But 0800 218 2255. How do Lindsay?
I like that tune, what you just played.
Good.
There's so much technology in the world. Do you think everything could crash? Do you think everything could crash one day?
It's impossible to say no to that, but I think it's unlikely, because if one bit crashes, the other one tends to keep going. They're not all connected to each other, but it's always possible. I remember do you remember the millennium bug that we were all going to suffer from at midnight on the 31st of December on the year 1999 or whatever it was? And we were suddenly told, planes are going to fall out the sky and everything, the millennium bug. Companies spent billions, collectively billions, working against the millennium bug, and effectively nothing happened. Absolutely nothing. So,
because
my thoughts are probably not. It's okay.
I watch a lot of hospital dramas, and all the computers keep going down, in A&E. And then they have to get the men in to fix them.
Yeah, well, that's a hospital drama, isn't it? Though
it's a documentary.
All right. Well, there you go. Things do break down. Well, you know that only too well from last week. I wasn't here last week because technology broke down. But it's all breaking down at once. All of it all over the world breaking down at once, I think, is unlikely, but not impossible.
Yeah. Another thing I just wanted to say, you were talking about dog muck last night.
Yeah, we love talking about that, yeah.
Well, kids go into school and they sit down on the floor. And especially when they go back after a holiday, they've got new shoes on, most of them. And they play with the shoes when they're sitting on the floor. And probably most of them have got dog muck on the shoes. It's bad, the dog muck. It seems to be getting worse.
Well, I guess it depends where you are, but yeah, it might be getting worse in some places.
Yeah. Okay then, thank you.
My pleasure. Have a good night. Howdy, Ricky.
Good evening. How do you do, Mr. Beswick?
Awfully well, thank you.
The result was read today. Salford won and so did United. That's what I'm on about. How do you want to know?
I've no idea.
Yeah, let's move on to another level. We just got through, just about. With it's a breath. Extra time. Thank God for that sudden death. Anyway, that's not what I'm about. 2 topics very quickly. As like I said, dog muck is disgusting. If you can't have a dog, pick up. And the other 2 topics very, very, very quickly for your endeavour to your listeners. Apple or pear? A to Z alphabet. Where does it start? Where does it finish? Complicated? No, seriously. A to Z. Where do you start? Where do you finish? Do not do James Whale, cut me off. That's a simple question. Please answer me in the 90%. I know you're quite capable of doing James Whale, but please, A to Z, where does that start? Where does it finish?
I don't even understand what you're saying.
Well, A to Z, it's letters, isn't it? Apple, and Z is zebra. It's like alpha or the omega, the beginning and the end. That's what I've been to say. The alpha and the omega means start to the finish. Like this world. Like you said, many moons ago, before we were born, who started this world? Think about it. Who started it? Is that?
I'd rather not really, but thank you for your call. What I'll say to you is if that made sense to you, you need help. How do Kalpana?
Hello, Basi, are you okay? Everything
Very well,
okay
thank
with
you.
you? I didn't speak to you for a long time. Yeah. You know, last month in March, I organized International Women's Day with few women came, and we did some events. And my 2 daughters from India, they sent a poem to me on International Day. They wrote a poem, and they sent it to me, and I read that in front of the audience. So I want to read it tonight. Yeah.
How long is it?
Yeah. Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah.
I can hear you, but how long is the poem?
Less than 2 minutes.
A
Yeah.
lot less? Well, okay.
Okay. I'll start now.
Before you start, at 2 minutes, I'll switch you off.
2 minutes. International Women's Day, a celebration bright of women's strength, their beauty and might. Harmony is what we strive for, it is true. Equality for all, both me and you. Women of all races, cultures and creeds, united we stand with our love and our deeds. Breaking barriers and fighting for rights, embracing our differences with all of our might. From activists to mothers and leaders too. Women make the world a brighter hue. Their grace and compassion, their wisdom and care inspire us all to do and to dare. Let us raise our voices in a chorus of cheer for the women who have made a difference and brought us here. May we celebrate this day with joy and with glee and embrace the future, hoping for harmony and equality. So that's, I like it very much. Yeah.
Well, you would. You wrote it. Thanks very much. I'll do Tracy.
Yo, let me tell you, bring it on, sister. How good was that? I swear to God, I think I'm going to cry. It's like that Bernardo's advert. Oh, adverts make me cry now, yo. But I'll tell you what I'm ringing you up about. Are you all right, Alan?
I'm very well, thank you.
Well, my phone, I dropped my phone, you know. This is a new phone, same number, but I dropped my phone. Listen to me. This is like this. I'm saying this like, this is one point. It's nothing to do why I rang you up, but I've just remembered something that's been going through my mind. Do you know what? These companies, like electricity companies, and like, nobody go. If they want you to pay that bill, they should be supplying the appliances, shouldn't they? You know what I'm saying?
Not really.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, he wants this, and this with electric. Yeah, well, you pay for washer, fridge, freezer and everything. If you supply it, I don't mind paying that rent. What really grinds my... What is it? Don't swear. What really grinds my coffee bean is... We're being screwed to. Right. I need a walk-in wet room. You know what I mean? They're like, you need this, you need that. Do I? Anyway, that's not... But that lady, what she just said, perfect. Go on, sister. That was beautiful, weren't it? Weren't that beautiful, Alan?
No, I don't make judgments.
Yeah, but you know that was beautiful, wasn't it?
I've already answered that question. I don't make judgments about poetry.
Anyway, what I rang you up for...
Well, you've told me what you rang me up for.
No, I haven't.
All right. Well, will you get to it so we can get on?
All right, then. No, you might actually enjoy this. You know that Elon Musk... Yo, water. You tell him, yo, but he go. It's a pity he went sat on that rocket. He thinks he's going to put 100 people in that. all he's doing is defecating on our surface. And I'll tell you what, we'll most probably kill a load of birds, cows, fucking... Yo, can you imagine what he's took out with that? Who does he think he is? He's got a bit of money. Do you know how easy it is to take one man out? You should tell him, money does not make a man. A man, yo, you should tell him, Alan. You should give him a bit of your hard talk. Anyway, I just have to get it off me, yo.
Right, well, you have, and now we've all got it. How do Jim?
Good evening, Alan.
Good evening.
It's been on my mind for a number of weeks, and it concerns yourself. Well, specifically, the Alan Beswick phone-in programme and the future. I mean, the man on controls suggested I have a chat. I appreciate you yourself may not know what the authorities have in mind, but I thought, it's been on my mind, I'll put in a call. I may be speaking on behalf of many other listeners.
You're not. You're speaking for yourself.
Yeah, sure, but when I say that, I mean...
Don't matter when you say it or what you mean by it. You're not speaking for anyone else, you're speaking for you.
Right.
Just you.
Okay. It's kind of the focal point of my weekend, that 3 hours at the end of Saturday and the end of Sunday. And I know it's up in the air concerning what the powers that be have in mind for the Alan Beswick talk show. I mean, I appreciate you can't perhaps say anything at the moment, but there it is. I'm just outlining what's been on my mind, Alan.
Okay, well, the changes that are happening at the BBC, this programme is part of a great big organisation called the BBC, and BBC Local Radio is changing. And the changes that are coming about aren't aimed at this programme, they're aimed at the whole of BBC Local Radio, of which this programme is a very, very tiny percentage. It's 6 hours a week out of 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on 40 radio stations. It's a tiny, tiny morsel. So it isn't that they know what's happening. They don't know for sure what's happening. And when they do, they'll tell me. And when I find out, I'll tell you. But until then, we are where we are and we'll just carry on.
Okay. That's the position. Right. You've outlined the position. As I say, it's just been playing on my mind for a few weeks. All
right. Well, you'll soon, if this programme, as is likely, if this programme does disappear, then it's only been here at a weekend for, 3 years. So whatever you were doing 3 years ago, for time immemorial backwards, you'll be able to do again. So, it's your focal point now, but it'll go. Things end. Everything has a start, a middle and an end. So don't...
That's right, yeah.
Don't fret. Okay. Something will replace it. I don't know what. I don't think anyone knows what yet, but something will replace it when it goes.
Right. It's just... Right. Thank you. You've explained the position, so...
Right. If the BBC said to me, carry on doing it until you're dead, you still aren't going to get a lot of years out of it. I'm 74. Have a good night, Jim. Do, Walter. Hello, Walter.
Hello, Alan.
Hello.
Hello, yeah. I'd just like to say, I've got spinal bifida. I'm housebound in a wheelchair, yeah. And all my carers are Africans, yeah. And they're from Mr. Martin's all-day care inside. And I can't understand why these supporters of football are being racist. Yeah.
Well, I can't understand it either. I'm not about to be able to explain racism to you. I can explain what it is, but you know that already. But why anybody is a racist, I really don't understand. I think just...
But all my callers are black Africans, yeah? And you know what? One day, one of them supporters of football might need care. And what are they going to do then? Are they going to be racist then? Or are they going to accept the care?
In extremity, there are people who wouldn't accept treatment from a person they don't approve of being in this country. It has happened in the past.
Born in this country, Alan.
Well, in that case, they're not African.
Mr. Martin's.
Please don't give us any names.
Sorry.
It's okay. Just.
Sorry.
But
no.
If they were born in this country, they're not African. They're British.
They look after me, yeah. Good. And I'm thinking, all these football supporters, yeah, shouting and doing whatever they do, yeah. I hope to God they don't need care one day. Anyway, I'll leave it there, yeah. All right, love you, Alan.
Just for the record, not all football supporters are racist. A tiny minority are. It's just that racists tend to have very, very big, stupid gobs. How do Neil?
Hello?
Hello?
Niall.
My apologies. How do Niall?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm always well. I didn't ask how you were, but anyway, what would you like to talk about, Niall?
So I live in Liverpool, and but there's talk about things going about local radio and stuff, and so I've tuned into Merseyside and found you, and I think you're rude and ignorant.
Are
Nothing to say.
I don't care what you think.
Well, you should, because we're your listeners.
You are?
Yeah, so how can you possibly say that you don't care about the piddler phone in?
I didn't say I don't care about you, I said I don't care what you think.
Okay. They're two different things, are they, Alan?
I'm sorry?
They're two different things, are they?
Yes.
Not caring about someone, not caring about what they think are two different things.
Yes, I can care about an individual without actually caring about their opinions.
I fail to see that.
Excellent. So we've educated you. It's nice of you to call. 0800 218 2255. Lives in Liverpool. It's called Nile. I wonder if there are people living in Egypt called Mersey. How do Sadia? Sadia? None of you? How do Shafiq?
I'm okay, my friend. I like to talk about the Russia President Putin again. He believe his country people. He believe his army. Army job is a fight with any other country, and start with one country, fight with another country, fight. But from 2003, army job not for fighting. Even Putin needs us in United Nations because that time UN Secretary General Kofi Annan was live, and now Antonio Guterres. Last 25 years, one person write to United Nations, they please do not fight, believe rule of law. Believe rule of law. Putin knew is a rule of law, is a better, and he running his country, Russia, in Russia rule of law. Then have a look, Jesus Christ rule of law, Mr. Putin. And Jesus Christ rule of law, if in this world all human beings feel good and human beings support the Jesus Christ rule of law, then why need to be war in this earth? Peace. I learning in this church, peace be with you. Please, Putin, don't start war. Please, thank you.
I'll do Debbie.
Oh, hi, Alan. I just got cut off before because two things I wanted to talk about was these touchscreen phones, because, you know, when you have them next to your ear, they cut off really quickly, like, sort of thing, and I got cut off before, so I had to, like, ring back. But the main reason why, Alan, I rang in was the comment that you said before about Prince William complimenting his wife. I just think it's a really, really nice thing to do.
Well, did he compliment his wife though? I mean, somebody said to his wife, that dress you're wearing is lovely, or whatever, and he said, "Oh, she always looks stunning." Well, there's more than one interpretation of that. Yes, he can say she always looks stunning, but he can also be saying, "Oh yeah, here we go again. You know, I'm sick of it."
But the thing is, Alan, she is a stunning woman. You know, you can't. But I mean, okay, it's horses for courses. Whatever you say in a woman is, you know, what you see. You might see the beauty within the woman, you know, beyond the clothes, whatever. You know, the personality, whatever. You know, but he is saying that she looks nice in what she wears and everything. And I think, truly, she is a very stunning woman, you know. I mean, I'm not, you know, I'm not a massive royalist, but, you know, I think she's a very stunning, pretty lady.
Indeed, but is his comment an expression of his thought that she's not able to speak for herself? I mean, if somebody says to you, I think your dress is beautiful, I think your dress is beautiful, then they've not spoken to the bloke. They've not said, I think your wife's dress is beautiful, in which case he would be perfectly reasonable and supportive to say, yes, she always looks stunning, doesn't she? She's gorgeous. I love her deeply. But when somebody speaks to her and he then responds, in other words, I'm going to be king, I'll respond to you. She's just the also ran. I'm dragging along behind me. Bred the kids. She's sorted.
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying, because she is sort of like, he is the head honcho as being the king, and he's not giving her a right to speak for herself. Is he like, he's not like giving her the right to say, oh yes, actually, I do look stunning, you know, sort of thing.
A person in her position, if she chooses to reply, merely has to say thank you.
Yeah.
But her husband, what's it got to do with her husband?
Yeah, I get what you mean. But even so, I still think it is a nice compliment for him to say about his wife. I mean, if he said, oh, well, actually, he looks a troll, I mean, I'm not, you know.
Indeed, but isn't...
You know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying, but he didn't say she's got a nice dress. He said, oh, she's always like that. It's just another day for her. Big deal. I'm the king.
Yeah, I get what you mean, but I think there is two types of men. There is men who appreciate the wives, and there is men who don't appreciate the wives. You know, and you can get two types of men, really. I mean, I don't mean to be sexist or anything, but you can get men who will compliment the wives and mean it, and then you will get other men who don't compliment the wives, or will compliment the wives and then behind the back they'll be saying, oh, you know, she...
Indeed, but he didn't compliment his wife.
Like that on a good day, like, you know.
He didn't compliment his wife. He took control of a situation that until he decided he was going to take control of, he wasn't involved in. Somebody says to her, I like your dress, and he responds on her behalf like she's just some clothes horse. She's not really a human being.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from. But I still think it's a nice compliment to make, you know, about a woman, really. You know, I just think it's a nice thing to say.
But in one sense, you're absolutely correct, and that is, if before they went out, he turned to her and he said, my God, that's a beautiful dress. You always look stunning. That's a compliment.
Yeah.
But I will speak on my wife's behalf because she's thick, stupid, and just a clothes horse. She looks nice with some posh rags on, but basically she can't speak for herself. She's just a woman. I'll speak for her.
Yeah, but you get a lot of men like that. You get
Doesn't make it right.
For their woman.
Quite.
You will get a lot of men like that, and that's them being sexist. And I totally get what you're saying. I do totally get what you're saying, that he spoke on behalf of her as if she hasn't got a voice to speak on her own behalf and everything. I know what you're saying, Alan.
I tell you, if it happened when I was out with my wife, I would have an elbow in the ribs for my audacity. and I would just go, ouch, I'm awfully sorry, love, for fear of not getting another one.
I bet you see I play stores, he does do that. You know what I mean?
It's that old expression frequently used by Jewish people. I've heard use it. I've never heard anyone else use it, so I don't know. Well, that's what am I? Chopped liver? You know, why are you speaking for me? What am I? Chopped liver? I can talk, you know.
yeah. I get what you say. But, right, I'll just give you a little example where this is where I've been quite romantic, and I have actually made up my own name for Valentine's, and I've called it DJ Delivery Day, because I'd actually sent out a Valentine's to someone. I didn't get any response whatsoever. And it obviously wasn't reciprocated. And I called it delivery day. And the thing was, the problem that I had was we took about 2 hours to deliver it, because there was flats, right? And they were all sort of adjacent to each other. And we couldn't work out which flat it was. So we don't even know if they're a gospel or not.
Well, you can't grumble that you didn't get a reply if you can't guarantee that the person got it. That's harsher than you ought to be, Debbie, but good to talk to you. Have a good night. 0800 218 2255. What is it we're responding to? If you haven't worked it out, somebody said to Prince William's wife, said, "Oh, that's a lovely dress you're wearing." And that's perfectly fine. It's perhaps a little forward, but, it's fine. And he responded, not her, he responded, "Oh, she always looks stunning." Now, that seems like a harmless comment. And in most places it would be seen in that way. But I wondered, is he being nice and supportive? Or is he actually being passive-aggressive? Is he saying, "I'm king," or "I'm the one that's going to be king, I will speak for you"? Whereas if he said "Nout," Mrs. William could have said, "Thank you, you're very kind," or words to that effect. She's a grown woman, she can speak for herself. It's just a thought. 0800 218 2255. How do Eileen?
Hi, Alan. Hi, everyone. I thought to talk about something interesting tonight, and
good.
Well-being in our life and hobbies. And I've had loads of hobbies. Some I couldn't afford to keep up, and some, that I just wasn't. I didn't really like doing, and that. You've got a hobby, haven't you? Coins and that. Have you still got your pennies?
I haven't got a hobby. I haven't got coins. Pennies. No, my father collected pennies, not me.
Well, haven't you still got your penny on your table?
I've still got that. Yes, it's not a hobby. It's just a coin.
Well, you've got your coins from the Middle East, haven't you?
I have a ancient coin, but I've got coins from when I've been on holidays and things, yes, but I wouldn't say that's my hobby.
No, I thought these were, because I asked you where you got them, do you remember? And I said,
of course I don't remember.
Well, in the war, not the war, when you're out in the Middle East in the army, he brought them in. I was took to that place for a suicide attempt, pal, but they found out about the first arson under my belt, so they took me on to you, remember? And you was trying to make... You introduced yourself to me. You only done a few hours when you were needed there. You wore a white coat up to your thighs, and was trying to cheer me up because I was brought there on suicide attempt. Do you remember?
No.
Do you remember when I ran after my first escape attempt? You caught me, and I was the You must do, because you said to me, as you were the one that bought me.
Eileen, I'm in charge of what I remember, nobody else.
Well, you must remember your coins. Anyway, we're talking about nice hobbies. And I know coins, because I've always wanted to collect coins. And don't worry, this treasure trove was from another country. It's completely different laws, Alan. You haven't done nothing wrong. The treasure trove here, you have to declare. But treasure trove from other countries has nothing to do with English law. I'll check this out.
Well, the only coins I have are those that have been given to me in my change when I've bought something. So I don't think they count as treasure trove.
No, when you brought them in, and I didn't expect you to bring them up, you did. You showed me them, and some of them were old.
Eileen, I've never met you in my life. Good night. How do Andrew?
How do Alan? How are we? Okay, good. Hello?
Hello.
Yeah. When you were talking about your lady wife, I have the same sort of instance, you see. I have like what's called a lesbian. It's called a girlfriend, you see, Latin, obviously. But her name is Louise, and she is like the reason we do
I don't need to know your partner's name.
Yourself.
Pardon?
No. Your man, Janana.
I'm sure some of that made sense to him, which is rather disturbing. There's life. 0800 218 2255. If you want to join us, you can. Pick up your phone, have your say. And in response to the gentleman named after a large eastern river, let me tell you, I don't really care. But I like chatting with you. How do Lewis?
Hello, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
Oh, that's good. Well, I wanted to ask you, what's your favourite Beatles album?
I don't have one.
Don't you? Don't you like them?
Yes.
So, don't you have the favourite album? Do you despise all of them or what?
Well, I think I've just answered that when you said, do you like them? And I said yes. I think that's sort of ruled out.
Yeah, but you might just like the singles, might you? Not the albums.
Well, a lot of the albums, or a lot of the singles come from albums. I don't know that the Beatles released any single that wasn't on an album, did they?
Yeah, they did. Hey Jude was not on an album.
Was it not? Oh, well, there you are. You have superior knowledge.
Yeah, you learn something new every day, don't you?
I try to.
Do you want me to tell you an experience I actually had with Paul McCartney? Because I'm from Liverpool, and it's a really funny story. I walked into a Wetherspoons, and Paul McCartney was sitting on a table, and went over to him. I didn't want to disturb him that much because he was enjoying a pint. And I said to him, could you buy me a pint? And he actually did, and we had a good chat. Do you know about Jerry and the Pacemakers? We talked about them, and it was really funny. It's a true story.
Well, fine. When you say, do I know about Jerry and the Pacemakers, I'm aware of their existence, and I've interviewed Jerry Marsden a couple of times. Yeah.
And Paul McCartney actually said that Jerry Marsden stole one of his songs.
Right.
He literally went into his bedroom and stole one of his songs.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Well, I hope you have a nice day anyway.
Well, I plan to. 0800 218 2255, and apparently, and Jason tells me, and when it comes to music he's rather more oraclish than I, he tells me that Hey Jude is on a Beatles album, but to be fair, it's on a greatest hits album. It wasn't released as part of an album, as it were, but it is on a greatest hits album, so I guess that counts almost, doesn't it? Or maybe not, who knows? Come to think of it, who cares? But yeah, so we met Paul McCartney in a pub, and Paul McCartney said Jerry Marsden and Jerry and the Pacemakers crept into my bedroom. I don't know, they must have been in the same hotel, or maybe they shared a house, I don't know, and stole one of my songs. So you might say it's been a long, long time, and McCartney's still whining about it. What you might call a long and whining road, mind you. Did they do anything that wasn't? Except that, what was that one they had that went number 9? Number 9? Number 9? I mean, that one was tripe. There's no way past that. That one was absolute tripe. But most of what they did, I'm just trying to think if there's anything else that they did that I wasn't keen on. No, I think it was just that. Where were you? Well, no, I'm sticking my neck out here. I'm taking a chance here. What were you doing when the alarm went off? You know, these super-duper all singing, all dancing alarm. I was in a nursery, not a child's nursery, but a plant nursery, buying, guess, some plants. They don't sell anything else, it was a nursery, and not a garden centre. And I was buying some plants. What did I get? I don't know. I got an apocanthia. I say I got. I paid for an apocanthia or something. I don't know. I got one of them, and that was it really. And then I went and had a pancake for lunch. A pancake. I've not had a pancake for years. I don't have them on Pancake Tuesday, obviously, on principle, really. But I went for a pancake, and it reminded. I once had a pancake on the northern coast of France, in a little eatery, as we would call it. They didn't. I don't know what they called it. Pancake house, I guess. I don't know. I had a pancake there, and you could almost see through it, and it had pancake and Roquefort cheese. Oh my God, it was wonderful. I came home, bought some Roquefort cheese, bought all the ingredients of a pancake, made it. It was terrible. But there you are. The Roquefort was nice, the pancake was terrible. So I had a pancake for my lunch in a pancake house in a water garden. Yeah. Oh, it's a full life. Anyway, today's papers. When I say today, I mean tomorrow. Yeah, exactly. 0800 218 2255 if you want to join us, that's good. Rod Stewart says on the front of tomorrow's Daily Mirror, give the nurses a rise now. So there you are. I'm sure the government will jump to immediately. And even an ex-Tory MP, Burkow, backs the NHS heroes and teachers. OK. Abbott loses the whip, says the Eye, over offensive race comments. I mean, it's sort of a race to be the most hated, isn't it, really? I'm black and I've suffered racism all my life. And to be fair, she almost certainly has, as indeed have many, many other people of colour. But to even take the trouble to sort of separate the different elements of hate and say I'm black, so mine is the worst, which is basically what she was saying. I'm black. I know about racism. Jews, they've not had it all their lives. Of course they have. Everybody with a difference has. Everyone with a disability has. You know, we have in our society a big chunk of people who are absolutely ghastly, and they do those things. So to actually try to segregate different elements of hate and say one is worse than the other is just plain stupid, as her apology seems to indicate. But does she not read what she's written? Do you write something and then think, right, that's it, finished, and not just analyse? I mean, she may have been trying to say something quite sensible, but worded it incorrectly, and because she didn't read it through, or got somebody else to read it through, as is recommended most of the time, she ends up making an awful lot of people unhappy. Everyone, travellers, they suffer prejudice all the time, as do disabled people, or people with disabilities, Jewish people, Asian people, you name it. If you are in the slightest way different, you get abused for it. I mean, I often cite ginger ale, but quite frankly, that's just a joke. I don't mean having ginger ale as a joke. I used to have it till it went white, but, you do. You get people refer to you as your hair. Hey, Ginge. And, that's a kind of ism. It's not racism by any means, but it's still an ism. Women, they have prejudice all the time, even today. When I say today, I mean in this day and age. Women collectively women are paid considerably less than men for doing the same job, which is just evil, really. That's how it is. Anyway, what do I know? 0800 218 2255. I do Mike.
Good evening to you, monarch of the airwaves.
Okay.
You were asking about our reaction to the siren, and it's one of the 3 o'clock bleep, 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 and it's very disappointing as far as we're concerned. I'm not quite sure why I took the trouble to do so, Alan, but I actually resurrected my mobile from its place of honour and brought it down. We were having lunch at the time, and when 3 o'clock came, it came and went without any siren being heard.
Oh, you never got it?
No.
Oh dear.
No.
Well, if it was emergency, you'd be dead now.
Possibly so. Alan, there is one caveat about this, in the sense that I believe that, am I not right in thinking that it's only 4 and 5G telephones?
Oh, I've no idea.
Yeah, that were expected to receive it. I'm not. There's nothing particular. It was expensive enough, but it's actually called a synaptic, which might interest you. I'm not sure. I think it's possibly a 4G. It's definitely not a 5G. Those are still fairly rare birds. But anyway, it didn't do anything.
Right.
And I have to admit to a peculiar sense of slight disappointment. I think let down would be the right word, wouldn't it?
Possibly, yes. I can't speak for what your sensation was, but yeah, disappointment, let down. Phones running iOS 14.5 or later, Android phones and tablets running Android 11 or later. I don't know what any of that means.
Right.
But that's the limitation.
I have my doubts whether my because I've had him 3 or 4 years, I think. I just use it for outgoing, because I don't want to be mithered with too many incoming calls. I just use it for outgoings, and I pay about £6 a month, and I can make unlimited calls. It's rather good, isn't it?
Yeah, I suppose. I don't actually know what they cost. I know mine, which is in the car and unused and switched off, costs £10 a month, and it's cost that for years.
Yeah, it drives us back really to something I was trying to imply to you a bit unsuccessfully last night, but I'm very reticent about using such. You know, these things are very expensive in many instances, and when you hear about how people are stealing these things, you know, literally walking up to people and pinching them out of their hands. I just don't use it in public, or you dash down a side street or whatever if you must make a call. What do you think?
I mean, I don't think I've ever made such a call in what might, certainly not in the street.
No. Lots of people do, though, don't they?
Oh, they walk along reading texts and playing games and the Lord knows what else. Yeah. But it's a substitute for a life, so, I suppose it's better than being dead, which is what seems to be their only alternative.
You hear about on these documentary programmes on our other favourite station, how in London there's sort of almost a market in this sort of banditry of pinching them. Yeah. Anyway, next thing, a question I asked you some time ago: has your stock of radios diminished any over the last few years, or have you? Well, you see,
I still have a radio in every room I use.
Yes. Okay. Because I was, I was talking to a friend of mine the other day about servicing these things, and he said, "Oh well, people aren't using radios in the set. You know, the market for literal radios is somewhat diminished, rather supported by the sadness, well, the disappointment, really. Yeah, all these lovely sets I've got that I'm so proud of, that, you know, they would receive very distant stations right through the air. But people, did you know that RTE from Ireland has now gone off, disappeared from the long wave?
I didn't know that. Why would I?
Don't suppose it makes a lot of difference to you. There was talk, was there not, of losing Radio 4 long wave?
There might have been. I don't recall it, but yeah, there's always talk.
I'm afraid I got one of the better sets out the other night to investigate the long wave, and it looks pretty sad. There's not very much there at all. A couple of rather faint French stations. Even when you turn to medium wave, this set used to bring in. It used to bring in.
Well, yes, the world moves on, doesn't it? Technology's moved on. They're not going to carry on using the old one. I mean, our televisions aren't 405 lines and black and white anymore, but there must be somebody who's got a 405 black and white telly and wonders why they can't see anything on it.
No, because the whole ethos of a television box, you were trying to make an analogue set into a digital, weren't you?
Oh, I don't know. That's way beyond my pay grade. I don't understand all that stuff. We bought a wonderful one many years ago, and when they switched analog off, we bought a digibox. It's been very successful. Smashing set. Well, it gives pleasure to the lady of the house and me when I sit in and enjoy programmes with her. Anyway, what else? What did you think? It was a bit of a shock to me. What about Diane Abbott losing her position in the Labour Party? Yeah, well, she's been suspended from the party, so she can't hold a position. She said something that she later apologised for. I don't know whether she rescinded it, but certainly apologised for the upset it caused. And it was a rather stupid, ill-thought-out thing to say.
Well, how can you write such a thing without it being pretty obvious to yourself that this is going to mean this could well mean trouble?
Well, it's fairly easy. There is an ethos these days, and I don't just mean in politicians. I even hear journalists say it. And sometimes a story will be written, and certainly for radio even, and the reporter will say this, and I point out to them that actually that could mean two things.
Yes.
And their response is, well, the audience will know what I mean. And my response is always, no, your job is to tell the audience what you mean, not to give them a set of options and allow them to guess. Now, she's probably knocked that out and was trying to say that if you want to know about prejudice, get yourself a black face, because you will suffer it every second of every day of your life. But to then say, unlike Jews who don't get it every day in their life, well, that's stupid, because they do. And unlike, she didn't mention this, but disabled people, I'm sorry, they do. It's just, it was just crass. It wasn't, she's not saying, Jewish people, who cares about them? She wasn't saying that. She was just comparing the ism that she has to endure with the isms that other people have to endure, and saying that hers was worse. And that's a stupid thing to say.
Did you actually read the thing before she was suspended, before news of that came out?
Well, before news of that came out, yes. But before she was told she was suspended, I don't know. I don't know when she was told that, obviously.
But we only, her article presumably only appeared today.
Indeed.
And we heard the news
yesterday, really.
Was it yesterday?
Well, no, it's in the Observer, so it's published formally today.
Oh, yeah, I see.
But right now, I can tell you what's on the front pages of certain papers, and I know in London you can get a copy of the news at 10 o'clock the night before.
Yes, of course. How do you see the future of paper, hard copy newspapers, Alan?
I think they're going to be around for a good while yet, because you can't do on any other medium what you can do on newspapers, and the other media are doing their level best to do so, but you just can't. And that is, reading something leaves a bigger footprint on your brain than hearing it or seeing it on the telly. It's that old thing that your teacher used to say, if you don't know the meaning of a word in something that you're reading, if you ask somebody and they tell you, you may well forget. But if you get off your bum and go and look it up in a dictionary, you almost certainly will remember it.
I agree with that. This is why we've always encouraged people to actually read Braille rather than get it as a talking book. If you've got the ability to do so, then that's the way to really understand it.
Indeed, but newspapers have an ability that they've got a lot more room to do something. A newspaper, for example, if a story is big enough, can do what they call page up. You can't really page up with a news bulletin that's on every hour for 3 minutes. You can't page that up. It's 3 minutes. You fit it in or it goes. And it's only very, very rare, like when the bomb went off in Manchester and this programme carried on all night. Well, you can do that from time to time. But if you want to do a serious analysis of a subject, you need to have more than just a few sound bites. One of the things I'm quite pleased about is you now get radio and television documentaries that are jointly made by electronic media reporters and producers and newspaper reporters and producers. They combine together, and so they get two kinds of brain working on the story, and then they get two versions of the story, the broadcast version and the newspaper version. So I can see newspapers surviving in that context, but they are struggling financially, some of them.
Yes. What I was saying to you last night at one point seems to be... I'm just trying to... I know I wanted to really... Sorry, Alan, I'll have to try and come back to you on that one. I'll talk to you, try and talk to you later.
Whatever. Have a good night. I'll do James. Hello, James.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, good morning, Alan. How are you doing?
Good evening. Awfully well, thank you.
Well, I've just called for you today to ask you your opinion of that old chap, Lewis. He was ringing before about Paul McCartney.
I did hear him. I don't have an opinion.
Oh, well, anyway, I'm just called to tell you. When you
Goodbye. I'll do Trevor.
Good evening, Alan. You were talking about pancakes.
This is true.
And I have to say, I don't think there was anything to beat a good French creperie.
Well, that's what that was, really. And they weren't crap.
But when you tried to recreate it, it evidently didn't.
No, well, I
didn't really work.
They do it with a I don't know, a wallpaper thing. They have a round hot thing, exactly, a hot plate, yeah, and they pour the juice on, as it were, and then they spread it out with a trowel, dead thin, and then it's done in seconds. And then they chuck the gunk on. In my case, it was Roquefort cheese. And it was absolutely delicious. And then I got home, mine was about a quarter of an inch thick.
You'll have to get yourself...
The one I had today was in a place called the French Pancake House.
Oh, in Wales?
Yeah.
Well, there we are.
Well, don't say it like that. You know, you used to have French pancake houses in Manchester. That's in bloody France either.
Sorry, you're quite right, of course. As always. And as always, last night was an interesting show. You were introduced to a different meaning of mint, if you remember.
I do rather regret remembering, yes. Apparently it means good.
Yes. And all of us, well, no, I can't speak for anyone else. I was fascinated by the Wrexham Police Wee Squad, deployed with rapid access to a water bowser and scrubbing brushes.
I know.
I mean, I'm not doubting the report you were given, but it struck me as an extremely odd way to use police time, and indeed presumably some local council people's time to man or woman the water bowser, so to speak. Just struck me as very strange.
Very, very odd. Odd as anything.
Yes. Time for your favourite bit. A couple of crypto crossword clues for you, Alan.
Right.
Number one, lose your wicket and leave. 2 words, 3 and 3.
Lose your wicket and leave.
2 words, 3 and 3.
Don't know.
Get out. And key worker who attends to the pitch. 2 words, 5 and 5.
Key worker who attends to the pitch. Don't know.
Piano tuner.
Very good. I like that one.
That's not bad,
good.
is it? Yeah. Staying with words, what is the plural of fish, Alan?
Well, it could be fish, but it could be fishes.
Indeed. Unlike yourself, I do look at social media, and sometimes random things came up. And something from a grammar website arrived. And it was looking at this really important issue. And their take on it, which I don't entirely agree with, was that the plural of fish is fish. However, fish is acceptable as a plural when talking of more than one species.
Correct. That's exactly how I would explain it.
Is that right?
Who am I to say what's right or not? I'm not an etymologist, but certainly that would be my way of distinguishing between the two.
Okay, well, there we are. Now then, yes, I always look out for newspaper headlines that somewhat amuse me. And there's a story around this week about a Viagra-like gel that has been launched at a high street chemist.
Yeah, I heard about that.
That produced a bit of an opportunity for headline writers. One came up with an uplifting alternative to a little blue pill.
Yeah.
But my favourite was a whole new ball game.
Yeah.
Cheered me up a little.
Well, if a fella gets some and rubs it on and then goes for a wee, does he come back with a smooth willy?
I don't entirely know the intricacies of what precisely effect it has.
Nor do I. That's why I asked.
I'm sure if you went down to your local high street chemist, they'd be very prepared to give you a bit more information.
No, they'd probably just say, here's some ointment, go and try it out.
Right.
Very strange. Burglars are rubbing it in their finger ends. Got no prints. Got Viagra on my fingers. Mind you, I can't bend them.
Oh dear. Slightly more seriously, I've been intrigued by the SpaceX, Mr. Musk's SpaceX success, as he described it, because it did get off the ground, as it were. Apparently, it cost $2.4 billion, which is quite a lot. It's 394 feet long, which is apparently the biggest ever built, and That's big. I think it got 18 miles up and 8 seconds after launch before it exploded, but did produce a great phrase from the team at SpaceX that it was a rapid, unscheduled disassembly, which is an interesting way of describing blowing up. But they've apparently got a deal with NASA, a signed deal with NASA to ferry astronauts to the moon in 2 years' time. So it seems to me they haven't got too long to put it right.
Yeah, but once you start getting them off the ground, I mean, I think he said in an interview, it's not like it's the only one we've got. We've got another one.
Oh, right, okay. So
there's
another one ready to go.
in a few weeks, yeah, ready to go. You just hope that it's not identical to the one that's gone, because what were the points of that? But I find it interesting that it's a returnable rocket, but we've got 2 of them anyway, just in case. But that's what they do. It's all step by step, isn't it? You know.
Well, I guess that's right. And finally, as they say, Alan, keep my eye on what's happening in politics. It's been another interesting week. Mr. Raab, of course, has gone. Sometimes headline writers in newspapers are rather overwhelmed by events. And one of the papers, indeed the paper I read most often, on Friday had the headline, Raab refuses to resign. And about 3 or 4 hours after it had arrived on people's breakfast table, as it were, there he was, gone. But as he put it in one of a whole series of exclusive interviews that he gave, he left with his integrity intact and his head held high. So there we are. That's his perspective. I think other people might have a slightly different view of that. And then, as you've already mentioned, the Diane Abbot saga. As I read the reports, apparently it was a letter rather than a column. So she sent a letter into the Observer, and she claims it was a draft that was sent by mistake. Is her version of what happened.
Well, yeah. What else can you say?
Well, I suppose, yeah.
I mean it all, but I'm apologising anyway. You know, I mean, if it was a draft, then it was a draft of her thoughts, one presumes.
Well, quite. No, I accept that. I mean, certainly it's something I'm sure the Mr. Sakir would rather not have had to come out in the run-up to the local election, so to speak. But also, it did seem a very crass way of putting over an argument, dismissing Jewish people and travellers and various other peoples, and saying they don't experience racism.
Well, not dismissing them, but saying it's not racism.
Dismissing that's being
not,
racist.
And it depends on what you mean. I mean, is being a traveller a race? Well, in some cases, yes, there are travellers who are part of the same race, but there are also travellers who, quite frankly, are the what you might call the back end of hippiedom. You know, there were lots of travellers. So there's that. So you know, it's not absolutely condemnatory, but it's still crass. And you're basically, you know, it's like I say, disabled people, they don't know what it's like. They don't know what it's like. I get it every day. I've had it every day of my life, and that's fine. You know.
It's just right. Thank you very much,
Alan. She has gone. a flurry of sackings. What more can you ask? How do Fred?
Hello, lad. Hey, bye gum. Can I just mention radio? Have you got time to?
Well, I'm not going anywhere till 1 o'clock. So how far away is your radio?
It'll only take me about.
Just do it. Just do it. If I get fed up, I'll be gone. So I've got to move on.
Right. All right, lad. Just one. Can you still hear me?
Yeah. Twice.
Yeah.
Okay, it's your last chance. Turn it off or get off. I don't know which. I don't care. Make your mind up.
All right, lad.
See.
Off. Bye. If you can't work a radio, you're not bright enough to talk to me. 0800 218 2255. If you wish to join us, you can.
Hello, Alan. Gosh, that seemed to be a very long track. But when I put the radio on before, I was faffing around. But then I heard you refer to gobs, and you jogged me memory. And I've been going to ring you for ages about photographs in the paper of, it's usually sportsmen and women. Do photographers try to get them with their mouths as wide open as they can possibly manage it? They remind me very often of hippos.
I'm just getting the paper, one of the papers from today. I'm going to look. Oh yeah, they've got their mouths wide open. Is quite wide.
Do you really want to see down somebody's throat and examine their tonsils?
Well, I don't. But yeah, mind you, they get them at their moment of extremis, don't they? Whether it's they're very, very happy because they've just scored a goal, or whether they've had a foul against them disallowed or whatever. So they're usually shouting some obscenity.
How can you tell?
It is difficult when you don't know the game, as indeed I do not. But yes, they're not the most flattering photographs.
No, I'm as familiar with football as you are. I think I'd rather watch paint dry, to be honest, but there we are. But there was a comment in I think it is under the comment column, actually, in my Telegraph the other day. And I thought, my English teachers in the past, it is going back a while, would have been rather surprised. Poppies for Remembrance Sunday this year will contain no plastic. How can they contain no plastic? Just a query.
Will not contain any, but then it was actually bizarre. I think I must have misheard one of the bulletins and wasn't intrigued enough to go further with it. But they said it won't have a plastic stem anymore. But the thing that used to say Hague Fund on it, but is now just a black gadget, apparently that's going to be recyclable plastic. Well, no plastic doesn't include recyclable plastic. So I didn't quite understand it. And I know the floret, as it were, the red bit, is going to be paper, and the stem is going to be something else. It might be sticky on. In which case,
we wait and see. Well,
we wait and see.
Yeah, I will not be buying one. I will still be contributing, but I won't be buying one because I have a couple of silk poppies that I have had for years. And I am so thrilled because I can remember taking a penny to school for a poppy. And the silk ones were sixpence.
Oh, my word. And you were chucking your brass round with it?
Wasn't I? No, I didn't. It was years before I got one. And it was a gentleman who was selling the poppies. He gave me one because I said how I'd struggled without one. And I have still got that. And then I bought another. But anyway, so I'm going on a bit now to... I was listening to the news a couple of nights ago, and quite understandably there were comments about the coronation, and I am looking forward to the coronation very much, particularly the music. But I do hope that our friend Nicholas, what's his name, Witchell, he was talking about the people who are going to be singing various musical parts. I do hope that Hugh Edwards or somebody can get hold of him before the event and teach him how to say Sir Bryn Terfel, because he gets it wrong.
Well, these foreign names, you know.
Yes, but it's not foreign where you're living, and I imagine if you got it wrong, somebody would sort you out pretty quickly. Or if they didn't, I would be very surprised.
Well, yes, but there's nobody round here that listens to me because we're in, foreign lands. They listen to Radio Wales.
You're in my father's land, you see. The land of my fathers. But, yes, it does annoy me when people who are announcing characters are unable to pronounce the names properly. If you're introducing somebody, you should be able to say what their name is, shouldn't you? Regardless of where they come from.
If you're introducing them, yes. But if you're just reporting on them, who do you check with? Because they're proper nouns. And so
yes, but you You check with Hugh Edwards if it's somebody Welsh.
So he's the oracle, is he?
Oh, yes.
Well, he's certainly very popular. He's many of them, yes. He's very good.
Yes, and I'll close now with yet another complaint. You know, the evening news, it's a massive set, whereas it used to be quite small. It was all right. There was nothing up with it at all. And I used to quite enjoy the weather presenters' information, and they were always so beautifully tidy. I'm thinking about the gentlemen here particularly, with very nice tailored jackets and their collars and ties, looking really smart. And I was quite happy with that. But now you see all of them, they've got concertina trousers, the majority of them. Why?
I don't know what concertina trousers are.
They're wrinkled all the way down. And
oh, I see. Well, yeah. Well, I read somewhere. Now, I don't know whether this is. It's true that I read it, but I don't know whether the essence of the tale is true. But I read somewhere that BBC reporters have been told to dress down a little so that they don't seem distant to the audience. I don't know whether that is a truth, but I certainly read it. And I can just imagine the email going round and saying, "Look, BBC people, dress down a little bit. Except you, Beswick, you're gonna pull yourself up quite a lot, you know, just to get to lightly scruffy, which is what we're looking for." But I have noticed that an awful lot of television news reporters on both channels actually don't wear ties, the male ones.
Yeah, well, I've noticed that. Yes, only in the last couple of weeks I've thought various individuals haven't had the ties on. But they all look as if they're wearing somebody else's trousers. Somebody several inches taller.
Well, it is weird, but you know, it's odd. The whole thing is odd, you know?
Well, isn't life odd?
I'm hoping mine continues to be. Indeed. Well, good on you, Marjorie.
It's going on anyway.
it's going to hell in a handcart. That's how it's going on, Marjorie. Good to hear from you. But I did read that they've been told to dress down a little bit. You know, don't be too. I suppose if you're tuning into the news and there's a bloke there or a woman there telling you all about the challenges that we face with our electricity bills, and he's wearing a suit that costs 2 months' pay of the person watching, I suppose that can be a little, you know, "Oh, look at you, Edwards, there talking about inflation. Look at the suit he's got on. I could live on the for that," you know, that sort of response. And that's not a good response. And so I suppose, you know, donkeys years ago, they used to read the news, believe it or not, as if they were dressed to go to a posh dinner, you know, black suit, white tie, white shirt, black tie, all that caper. So I think they're trying to make it less, well, not formal, but less old-fashioned, less fuddy-duddy, perhaps. And so they are changing it slightly. And the blokes get away with murder anyway, because I remember, I mean, I used to know a bloke who, I won't say his name because that's not fair, and he used to do reports on North West Tonight. And I said to him one day, "How much money did he give you as a clothing allowance on North West Tonight?" And he said, "Nothing, not a bloody penny." And I said, "Well, you have to wear suits all the time. It must cost you a fortune." "No," he says, "I go to the cheapest shop in town," and he named it. It was just up the road from the BBC, "and I buy half a dozen at the same time. And I come away with 6 suits that have cost peanuts. I only wear them on the telly, and a £500 suit on the telly looks like a 60 quid suit on the telly. They both look the same. The telly doesn't distinguish." He says, "So when I'm actually in studio on the telly, I wear one of these 60 quid suits." And I thought, that's a good idea. I've never wore a suit at all. I remember getting told off by Gordon Burns doing a report once. Gordon Burns on North West Tonight. And I was doing a report on Summit. I think it was when I was doing Beswicks Beat. And he said to me, "Put a tie on for God's sake." I said, what for? I'm not ashamed of buttons. Everybody knows my shirt's got buttons. It doesn't matter. But he was always impeccably dressed, as you well know. 0800 218 2255 to join us, to carry on with Monday morning's papers. Well, we did. Abbott's lost the whip. Corbyn ally sparks new Labour row over racism. That's Diane Abbott again. It's more than an ally. Elite forces nighttime rescue of British diplomats in Sudan, says the Times. And the civil service chief accused Johnson of lying. Well, it's not a lonely place, is it? Daily Express front page, a daring SAS mission plucks Britons to safety, and Sir Mo bids an emotional farewell to the marathon. Apparently he got 400,000 quid for running that marathon. They should have got in touch with me. I'd have done it for 300. Mind you, I won't finish till Tuesday. The Daily Mail, time to scrap the tourist tax and get Britain booming again, because that 15% is keeping people out. The £10 billion bachelor who's now off the market. Some blokes getting wed, according to the Daily Mail. Rich bloke. The Daily Telegraph, Abbott stripped of whip in Labour racism row. UK citizens abandoned amid feeble response to the Sudan crisis, and Sunak gives way to rebels over the migrants bill, and the phone alert tests ends in farce. How very British. The Star, coronation heat, don't know what that's about, don't care. The Metro, SAS leads UK embassy airlift, escape from Khartoum. The film will be out in about a fortnight. 0800 218 2255. If you wish to join us, you can. Pick up your phone, have your say. Very kind man. I didn't know that until after he died. And all sorts of people said, look, you know, I was struggling and he gave me a couple of grand or 10 grand or whatever on the express condition that we don't make it known. Well, I said, that's the way to do it, isn't it? If you can afford to give money away, then give it away and don't ask for anything back. Just give it away. Good on him. 0800 218 2255. It's getting on for 1:45. We're here till 1, so you've got just over an hour. I'll do Ballad.
How do Mr. Alan Beswick? Good evening again. Right. I want to talk about... hold on, I've got you on echo now. I want to talk about the global geopolitical situation in relation to Africa. I might have talked about this before. December, I think they're saying there was a summit in Washington where about 48 of the 52 heads of states in Africa were invited to the White House for this summit. And basically, the amount of money was said to be going to be invested in Africa over a period of time. And that's okay. But the amount of money that was going to be given to Ukraine outstrips this amount of money big time. So what is it America wants from Africa? The answer is simple. Africa's resources. Now, and it's the way the world economy is structured. We need the resources. They've got we're not buying for them, but we don't want to pay top dollar for them. Then when we make products, they want the products we've made, and they pay through the nose for it. Now, that's not fair. Now, we're in a situation whereby the whole system is going downhill because the dollar, being the reserve currency of the world, is in a lot of problem. And I asked somebody in Nigeria recently, I said, how much is the naira to the dollar? Apparently, the naira to the dollar has now gone down. So less naira gets more dollars. Not because the naira is doing good, because the dollar is in trouble. And it's in trouble all over the place. Lots of people, lots of countries, led by the BRICS nations, who everybody wants a piece of now, want to dish the dollar and get into other currencies. But it would have been a better situation if in the international market you don't have to do your business in dollars. You could do it in, let's say there's a basket of currencies. which are legal to do it. So, but everybody that comes to the international market has got to give them dollars, and then they weaponize it and say,
well, they haven't got to trade in dollars. Dollars is the most powerful currency in the world.
Yes, it is.
One of the things Russia said in the early days of their war in Ukraine, if you want our oil and our gas, you're going to have to pay for it, and you'll have to pay for it in rubles. We don't want your dollars, you can stick them. So that's one position. China, the second richest nation on earth apparently, doesn't trade in dollars.
No.
So,
but they hold dollars.
Well, of course they hold dollars. Britain holds dollars. Everybody holds dollars.
Exactly.
But they hold other currencies too.
Yesterday I was watching this program and the gentleman said, when you hold the dollars, actually you hold a part of America's debt. You don't hold a real tangible currency.
Of course you do. That's how it works. That's what do you think you're holding? What do you think it is you're holding? You've basically lent them your money.
Exactly. We've lent them to everybody. Everybody in the world has factually lent America their money, and we've now got a piece of paper that says, well, this is America's debt, and we don't know.
You were talking about Africa, and Africa...
Okay, yeah, I was going to Africa, right.
Africa is up to its neck in debt to China.
Yeah, true. Africa is... Wait, I'm coming to that. I watched the video that said, actually, China only charges 2 or 2.5% on their loans. The West, the World Bank and all them, charge almost 30-25%. So basically, where's the death trap coming in there? It's definitely not China.
Well, China is trying to get a foothold because that gives you a commercial energy all over the world, and they're trying to get a foothold. Now, if you've got two things which are identical, and all monies are identical, it's just money. If you've got two things which are identical, and you're competing to sell them, then the one that lowers the price the most sells the most.
Yeah. And, China is at home, they've done it, whereby they've done e-currencies and all that, Bitcoin and all that. They've done that. Now, somebody trying to do that in Africa, let's say Nigeria, basically, when they got no money anyway, and they said, no, we're not having that. If you can't give us currency that I can see, like, in front of me like that, we don't want to deal with it. So they got into trouble.
It's hardly surprising, given that countries change hands in Africa
exactly.
more than human beings change their underwear. So you're not going to trade in something that's just been invented by a bloke who'll be gone in a fortnight.
Yeah, we in Nigeria, we just had an election. I was up to my eyeballs saying, well, I've got family down there, I don't know what's going to happen. And the whole thing was a big mess as far as I could say, because there were people saying, we want out of Nigeria, election's not going to hold in our part of the country, and election held over everywhere. I said, so what are you people talking about then? If election held, and elections done, and basically they did try their best to make sure they could get the best deal for you, because you had the servers, you had you guys that are the agents, you can copy the result, you can post them up and say if you got the wrong ones and all that, and then found out that the rigging went on by everybody. So where they won, there was no rigging, but where they lost, there was rigging, and it looks like everybody did it. So I'm saying, there's no saving you guys now.
That sounds remarkably like the elections in America, if I may say so.
Exactly. That's what it reminds me of. So basically, I was thinking, I don't know what's going to happen next. So that's the African situation.
It's very difficult to have faith, international faith, with the various countries, because Africa's one geographic place, but it's not one place, as you well know. It's an awful lot of countries and an awful lot of people. And this sounds almost racist, but it doesn't make it not true. And that is, there's an awful lot of corruption. We've got the situation in Khartoum, which is over that way. And, they've had an election. One general won, the other general, who was his best mate, said, I wanted to win. So now they're killing people.
And they didn't.
Well, you're not going to use their currency as the standard, are you?
Can I end on a little joke? You were saying about people not spelling somebody's name right. I think it was Michael Aspon. He was supposed to be either given a report on the Nigerian Prime Minister at the time, who was called Tafawa Balewa Abubakar. So he was learning the name, how to say the name. Tafawa Balewa Abubakar. Tafawa Balewa Abubakar. Then as he was going to go on, he said, you don't have to do it no more. I said, what? He just overthrown you last night.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, I'll let you go.
Have a good night. That reminds me of that advert. You'll possibly remember it. Oh, it's a good few years ago now. It might have been the 80s, even possibly the 70s. And it was a little child. Did he have big childs? It was a small child who was, by his mum, sent to the shop to buy some Plumrose plopped ham with chalk. Oh, you can't get it right. With pork. Plumrose chopped ham with pork. And that was where he had to go. And he ran to the shop with his money in his hand, doing an errand for his mum, feeling great. And he didn't want to get the wrong thing. He saw the hand. He was running along and he said, Plumrose chopped ham with pork, Plumrose chopped ham with pork, Plumrose chopped ham with pork. And then he got there and he said something like, Plumrose chopped ham with chalk, which made me giggle anyway, and presumably sold quite a few tins of that alleged chopped ham with pork. Why you would ham and pork in the same tin, I don't really know, but having never tasted it, how can I tell? There was one thing I used to like that is of that ilk, and I first encountered it when in Northern Ireland as a squaddy, and they served it us for breakfast, and it was called Ulster fry. And you can get things very similar to it. It comes in tins in this country, but it's not the same. And this, they had it. I mean, certainly in the barracks, in the kitchen in the barracks, they had it in a big slab, and they would slice it about 1/8 of an inch thick, loads and loads and loads of it. It was rectangular but curved, if you follow me, and I loved it. Yeah, Ulster fry. Do they still make it? 0800 218 2255. And you hit it with a little double-ended stick, is it? Well, all sticks are double-ended, but you know what I mean. Well, you don't know what I mean. Well, you don't care. I don't blame you. Anyway, it's just somebody going like that, and then there's this not unpleasant noise in front of it, and her saying, "I'm running up that hill," and I don't understand any of the rest of it. I did like it. I'm not condemning it. I'm just saying I can't understand why I do like it, because it is just 0800 218 2255. How do David?
Oh no, Alan, you caught me by surprise there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you just mentioned about Ulster fry.
Yeah.
Yes, lovely. It used to be about 6 inches long by 2 inches wide, and we had it 1/4 of an inch thick, not like you with 1/8 of an inch. But
well, the arm is tight.
Yeah. I was with, it was LCPT, MPTE, Mersey Bus, before Arriva took over.
Yeah.
And we always had Ulster fry in each of the canteens.
Oh.
I think you worked for Ribble, didn't you?
I did, yeah. We didn't have anything like that. I was.
Well, did you ever go into Bootle Strand?
No reason to. Used to go into Skellon Street. Skellon Street was our turnaround, our terminus.
Yeah. No, we went into Bootle Strand, the old, before it's been knocked down and redone. But Ribble drivers used to come into the Strand, certain buses, I don't know which ones, I can't remember them.
Nah.
I think it's in 96. I'm an older person, as they call it.
Fair enough.
It was just a memory of Ulster fry, yeah.
Yeah, it's quite something, isn't it? It was very nice. I mean, it was probably blocking up your arteries by the second.
Yeah, but we had it every morning. If ever you're on early, that was your staple breakfast.
Never did you any harm, eh?
The nearest you can get, I've found, is something called bacon grill.
Yeah, I've tried that. Exactly. It's the nearest, but it's not it.
No, it's not it. It's definitely not it.
You get it, and you cut it, and it's got a very similar shape, and you cut yourself a slice, and you put it in a frying pan and let it cook a bit, turn it over, let it cook a bit more, and then you cut into it, and you think, it's not right. Close, but no cigar kind of thing.
Right.
Nah.
Well, I grill it so that I get some of the fat out of it. I don't want too much fat.
Listen to you. Listen to you.
Oh, well, I'm a widower now, so I have to look after. My ambition now is to avoid the wooden overcoat.
Well, that's a lot of our ambitions at this age. Waking up is the best thing you can do every day at our age.
Well, I live opposite a cemetery.
Oh, dear God. Well, it's not far to carry you.
Yeah, well, they haven't got me yet. That's the thing.
No.
I keep out the way.
I used to live in a house that had I just had a flat, a bedsit really, and when you looked out the back bedroom window, our bedroom window, me and the lad I was sharing with, we saw the graveyard, and it is interesting how some people react to graveyards. They think they're full of ghosts and spooks, when in fact it's just a field with some bits of stone standing up.
Well, going on that, Dave Allan, he's gone now. I don't know whether you remember Dave Allan.
I do, yes. I do.
He died in Australia recently, well, a few years now. But he always told the joke about the drunk in Ireland coming home at night, fell down a grave that had been dug ready for the next morning.
Yeah.
It's raining, he can't get out, the earth and sides are wet. So with typical Irish, stupidity really, he says, I'll stop the night. So he settled himself down in the corner, wedged himself in where the rain's blowing over him. Eventually another fella comes wandering past, he also fell down the hole. He's trying to get out, can't get out. This first fella, he goes up, he tapped him on the shoulder, he says, you'll not get out. But he did.
Yeah, it's a good tale. I remember him telling that. I think I might have stolen it and told him myself a couple of times. But I saw Dave Allan at the Shakespeare in Liverpool, and I went backstage afterwards, and you just have a 3-second chat with him. But he was just so gentle and pleasant. That's almost an offensive term. There was no edge to him or anything. He was just very straightforward. Yeah.
A nice person, if you can use that word.
Some of them aren't. I mean, I was there because I'd done an interview with him earlier in the day, and he said, "Well, come along," and I went to the show and all that. I went back afterwards, and he said, "Did you enjoy it?" "Yeah, it was great, thank you very much." And then he turned, and I was just some clown from the radio, but he was then dealing with his fans, and chatting with them, and that's exactly how it should have been. But he was really nice with people, which is, as I say, you can't say that about everybody.
True. Yeah. Oh, well.
Good on you, David. Good to remember Dave Allan and that very, very funny joke. Have a good night. 0800 218 2255. How do Arthur?
Hi, Alan. How are you? How are you now? Are you okay?
Very well, thank you.
Very good. A couple of things, actually. Something I've noticed on the news earlier, which blew my mind. Apparently, according to the news, we will soon be able to grow buildings from fungus.
Yes, I read that somewhere. Yeah.
How's going to manage to do that?
I don't know, but we frequently hear stories about, we've got this new plan and we'll be able to do this, and then 5 years later you think, well, where are they? I'm not seeing any. They just disappear because it doesn't quite work out. But yeah, I remember that. Buildings from fungi.
It's changed. Now, going back to something else we've talked about before, I think a man talked about it with you earlier on regarding fish. The word shoal, S-H-O-A-L, shoal.
Yeah.
And not only is it a large group of fish, it's a large group of people. And it also describes a stretch of shallow water.
Oh, right. I've not heard... I've not heard a group of people described as a shoal.
It is in the dictionary.
Which is interesting. And I've not heard of a shallow water being described as a shoal. I'm not saying you're wrong. I've not heard that. Isn't that interesting?
Enlightenment.
Yeah, well, I'm going to get my dictionary now. Obviously, I've got to check that out because that's fascinating me.
Going back to fungus, growing buildings from fungus, what they say they have to do within the next few years. So lots of housing problems, won't it?
Well, if it works, yes. And of course, if you get absolutely starving, you can just slice a bit off and fry it. Oh, there you are. Shoal, a stretch of shallow water, a sandbank or rocky area on a stretch of water. And then shoal, a large group of certain aquatic mammals, a large group of people. Or indeed, you can turn it into a verb, or you can use it as a verb and say a shoal of people. The people are shoaling, as it were. Shoal King Cole, you must have heard of him.
I remember him too. I'll leave you to it. Okay.
Have a good night. We used to have a poem that explained what he did with a penny when he wanted an halfpenny change. All King Cole stuck a penny. Anyway, how do Tony?
Hi, Alan, you okay?
I'm very well, thank you.
The Ulster fritters.
Ulster fry?
Ulster fries, what you call them fritters.
Well, let's not get too picky, but isn't a fritter in batter?
Correct, sorry. Yeah, it's in batter.
Right.
But we call it spam around here.
No, it's not. No, it's not spam.
Well, what was an Ulster then?
Well, an Ulster fry was, whereas spam is, should we call it a derivative of ham? Then Ulster fry is more similar to bacon in its presentation and texture and taste than it is to ham. And I know they're both dead pig, but no, it's not spam. Spam's nothing like Ulster fry.
Okay.
But you do get spam fritters, and some people... What's spam? That's a good question. I don't think I can answer it without libeling somebody. but it's...
Is it pork and ham? It's pork and ham, isn't it?
It is indeed pork and ham, yes. That was when it was first invented. It was spam, and I don't know what the S was for, but I can guess. So pork and ham. And do what you like with the S.
4 years rationing.
Could be, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was, Alan.
Yeah, but spam's a trade name, of course, isn't it? It's a brand.
Yeah. I think the S was substitute for the S.
That'll be it. Well, here it is. Spam is a brand of salty, processed canned pork made by Hormel Foods Corporation back in 1937. And it gained popularity, I don't know whether it's ever actually managed that, after its use in World War II. So there you are. So that's spam. So that's that's what it is. Processed pork. Doesn't sound half as interesting, does it then? All right, mate, goes on, yeah. 0800 218 2255. What I've got to do now is look up Ulster fry, of course. Oh, dear. What is an Ulster fry? A lamb's fry is something entirely different. Oh, here we go. A traditional Ulster fry. Oh, that's an Ulster fry up. That's not what I was after. That's back bacon, black pudding, all that caper. What's it doing to Irish fry? What is Ulster fry sliced meat? That's what I want. Oh, here we go. It's not spam, it says. It's a luncheon-type meat, thinly sliced and fried. All the Northern Irish in Liverpool ate it. I bet there was at least one that didn't, but anyway, so it was a Northern Irish thing, hence Ulster fry. Right. just giving you different ways you can kill yourself slowly. 0800 218 2255 if you want to join us. We can sit here and exchange recipes till we're blue in the face, if that is what we need to do. But Ulster fry. And have you ever... Now, here's a question. Have you ever had lamb's fries? I'm led to believe that it's not the bit that I was told by a butcher it was. And you can only get them off the blokes. You know, the male, the rams. It's not that bit at all. It's actually, I'm told, the pituitary gland. And I thought, well, that lifts it, but not by much. 800. Chefs, I've come to the conclusion, chefs will eat anything. It doesn't matter. They will eat anything. If you gave them a slow roasted turd, they'll be on it like the starving. Honestly, they will eat anything. Disgusting creatures. How do, Anthony?
Oh, good evening, Alan. Hope you're okay.
I'm very well, thank you.
Yeah, I've just been listening to this new remix of the Let It Be album by the Beatles. And I don't know where technology's getting to sound-wise, but it's crystal clear. And it doesn't sound like the Beatles I knew in the 60s and 70s, you know. A bit murky and everything. It's like it was recorded yesterday. You know, they've obviously put a lot of hard work into this. Giles Martin and Paul McCartney and Sam Oakle, who works at Abbey Road Studios, and but it's just been fascinating. I didn't mean to be listening to your show a bit earlier, but I was just listening to it twice over. I thought, you know, the choirs on the Long and Winding Road, that is absolutely beautiful, and they've put it in stereo for the first time.
Yeah, a lot of the early Beatles stuff wasn't, of course, because it was generally not available, and even if they put it on the records, nobody had stereo to play them on anyway. You should play them on a dodgy gramophone with a small spade for a needle, didn't they? But yeah.
You know, I like the scratches and the hiss, and you know.
Yeah, it's weird. We went over to CDs first of all, and the great joy of those was, the allegation was that you got a purer sound. The aficionados, of course, the hi-fi wallers said, well, it might be less scratchy and all of that, but it hasn't got the same audio range. It's been compressed somewhat, which I had no idea. It sounded clearer to me. And then we went to getting it via downloads, and now it's coming back. The sales of discs, as it were, records are up, and the sales of record players are up. And there was a piece, vinyl, that's the word I was after. There was a piece the other day saying that cassettes are coming back.
Oh, good grief.
Now, I can understand why somebody might want to spend money on a hi-fi set, you know, with a turntable, because they get that authentic sound. But why would you want a cassette? They were bloody awful. Absolutely.
They were,
awful.
Actually.
You know, they'd stretch, you know, and so you'd end up wonky. Great.
The number of times, I'll just say this, the number of times I had to tape those tapes together again, because they slapped and they twisted round, and
well, they used to unwind into your car radio. Do you remember that? You put it in, you take it out, and all you get the piece of plastic out. All the bloody stuff's still inside. You're pulling it out for hours. God Almighty!
Well, people don't realise what it was like in the 70s and 80s with these.
They don't know what our hardships were like. They just don't know. It was hell on earth. You know, when I came into radio, I thought, I'm going to have all my own equipment. So I went out and I bought a very expensive, for the day, Sony cassette recorder with a high quality microphone. It was a big box, and I could go out and do interviews with it. And I thought I'll get one of them, and I got it. And after about 6 weeks, the tapes were all over the place, and they stopped using them. They suddenly brought in DAB. So I thought, I'll get one of them. So I then bought a mini DAB machine, which was a tiny little gadget. And that went out of fashion, and they replaced it with digital. And now they have this thing that's about the size of an old 20 cigarette package, and you push it in somebody's face, and it's got microphones on it and everything. I mean, they're crap, but it's dear God. And now going back to steam radio.
Did Red Rose and the BBC pay that much money in the 80s and 90s?
Well, they didn't, but you still have to have the gear, don't you?
Yeah, of course you do. I hope they paid for them, not you.
Well, over time they did, because you buy it to use in your employ, and they employ you, and over time it's balanced out. You didn't have to buy one; they provided all the equipment.
Yep. Okay, fair enough. Oh yeah, I've got one more serious question. Are they going to retire you in May, or are you going to just see how it goes?
Exactly that. We'll see how it goes. My contract ends on the 31st of May, so that's that.
Yep.
Now, the normal circumstance is that they would negotiate. Well, they don't negotiate, just tell me. But in January or somewhere like that, they'd say, OK, we'll do another year or another 2 years or whatever. But with all the changes that are happening in local radio, sometime this year, now that might be December, it might
merge you all, don't they?
Well, not quite, but without going into all the details, because it's too damn complicated for a grown-up.
I know, I've heard it.
But because there are going to be substantial changes in the way local radio is delivered before the end of this year, then they haven't said, well, carry on and do another year, because if they did, they'd be stuck to giving me a year's money when the process has changed, and I might not want to be part of the change, and they might not want me to be. So after May, for now, I don't know. As far as I'm aware, I'll just carry on, but I don't know.
Yeah.
They will make that decision, and because they're dealing with 40 radio stations, a bloke doing 2 programmes a week late at night at the weekend is not a high priority. So I'll be at the back end of those who find out, and that's fine.
Well, let's be frank about this. As you've said a number of times before, over the last couple of months, if not the last year or so, there's very few genuine talk shows on late night BBC radio. And if you
it depends what you mean by genuine. There are lots of late night talk shows on the BBC.
They've got loads of music on.
Well, they have music as well, but I've just been playing Kate Bush, for God's sake. So we have music, but we're speech with music for fillers, so I can go and have a pee and things like that. But we are all speech. The thing I think we're not unique, I'm sure, but the thing we're different in is that we don't have a subject. We don't say, right, tonight we're talking about, whatever. We just say, what do you want to talk about? Ring, full stop. That's it. Now, we're not unique, but that's a fairly rare beast. I don't know whether there's another one in BBC Local Radio that is as...
Well, let's hope so, eh?
And the other thing is we don't do texts. We don't do any of that stuff.
Yeah. No, I think that's... well, I'm a bit old-fashioned in that way, and I think, fair enough.
Oh.
Get people to have to ring up.
Well, to each their own. What people forget often is that what we're about is giving something to the audience, and if you're lucky in life, you will find something to give to the audience that nobody or very few others are giving, and that means people can come say, this is awful, I'm going back to what I'm used to, or they can come and say, ooh, this is different, I'll have some of this. And the reality is, whoever you are, whether you're Chris Evans or that fella who's just buggered off to radio...
I thought you were going to say
Anyone,
Christian.
whoever you are, if you've got 10 million people listening to you, and that would be phenomenal if anyone did have, you got 10 million people listening to you, that means 65 million have decided they don't want to.
That's a good point, actually. I never thought about it that way. Okay, right, I better let you get on. I'm going to go back onto this stupid, no, it isn't stupid, this new remix of Let It Be.
Indeed. Whatever gets you through, as they say. A digitised remix of Let It Be. Each to their own. Have a good night. 0800 218 2255. 20 past midnight. We just played... I just mentioned it as well. We just played Kate Bush and that running up that hill, but there's another one that does that kind of oddness. It's not the same as Kate Bush. You say might not be as good, might not be as bad, but the other one is Enya, which I think is a similar. No idea what goes on. Somebody said play that. So Enya, an Orinoco flow. And I then said, I think it's a song about a womble having a wee. God bless us. People will complain about anything. How do, Mike?
Dearie me, I've come back to you as promised, having averted what might have been kitchen disaster. What I was talking to you about last night, you might recall, was enhanced vision among animals. Do you remember the bee? And I was intrigued to ask you, how do they determine that the bee has this ability beyond human vision?
Well, that's a good question. I haven't got the answer. I suppose they dissect the creature and examine the structure of its eye and the way the eye transmits the information to its brain, but unless they're a bee, they can't really be absolutely certain. But then they can also, I don't know whether they do this, but they might get a bee and tie its legs down and then attack it, for want of a better expression, from all different directions and different ways, and work out how the eye is spotting the attack.
Yeah, we hear some quite remarkable things on this programme. I might come back to you about it.
Quite a lot of them are made up on the spot.
Yeah. I'll come back to you because it's the sort of programme that you would be interested. It's apparently part of a series on enhanced senses. And I think they were speculating whether there would be, following on in a way from artificial intelligence, whether they'd be able to incorporate this into the human facility. I think, Alan, that it's on Wednesday morning on our other favourite station at 9:02. So might be worth having a listen.
I'll see. I only ever listen to programmes when I'm available, and if I don't like what's on, I turn it off again. I never time shift, as they call it these days, and I never use BBC Sounds and all that caper to listen to things that have gone before or are coming up. I just don't do that. Put the radio on and listen to what's on.
Come Wednesday morning, you might hear it. Anyway, it is available to us all. That Kate Bush record you were playing, that first came out in August 85, and it was resurrected because of an advert more recently when it.
I think it was in a programme. I don't think it was an advert. I think it was a programme.
Right. Well, it certainly had a second run of popularity.
Aye.
Probably to Kate's great delight, eh?
I don't know. I mean, it's not like she's short of the brass, so it might have been pleasing to see it revived, but it also might have been annoying because press would start ringing up and saying, "Hey, your record's in the charts again." Shut up! I don't like all this stuff. She's a bit of a recluse.
Yeah, well, yes, she certainly was came out of it for a while and probably sunk back into it. Another thing you mentioned that caught my attention was the one track you didn't like on the what became known as the White Album, that Revolution 9 with the strange effects. Do you remember?
Well, I remember the number 9. Number 9.
Yes, that's right.
Number 9.
I thought that was rather good. It came about apparently because Mr. McCartney and Mr. Lennon had heard on something like Karl-Heinz Stockhausen on Radio 3, and they thought, oh, we could do that, lads. Let's have a go. And I think what they put together was quite inventive, actually. I think.
Well, I think can be inventive, but it doesn't stop it being tripe. I mean, I thought it felt a bit like the vocal oral vision of Cubism. It's quite inventive, but who gives us stuff?
Yeah, well, I don't know. There's another programme on at another part of the week, not on our favourite, BBC. It is BBC. It's called Unclassified, and Miss Elizabeth Alker plays a miscellany of some of them are rather strange things like that. I record them every week, and because to me there's a lot of interesting ones that are worth keeping. So that's my pick, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Come on, now tell me. You were talking greatly to my interest, of course, about the recorders that you've had and the trends. The best Walkman that Sony did was the WMD6C, which was called the Walkman Pro. It was this fella you bought about 6 inches by 4? By 1.5.
Well, it wasn't called a Walkman. The one I bought. It was it was supposedly for professional use rather than basic, ordinary customer use. I don't know.
Oh, you mean? Do you mean the one, that fellow that was bigger than the Ewer? There was a beautiful thing.
Well, the Ewers have changed size over the years, but the original Ewer, the Dirty Great Big One,
the 4000L.
I don't know what the numbers are. What am I? Some kind of anorak? I don't know. It's just a bloody box with wheels that go. Well, fine. Well, I'm not, so I can't answer your question. But it was just a tape recorder, basically, a cassette recorder that Sony made, and it was, it had proper sockets for XLR mics and all that crap.
Marvellous. Yes, I was intrigued to try and trace exactly which one it was. You certainly had it. Have you still got your mini disc?
No.
The little fellow?
No, really. When this stuff is no longer being used, it goes in the bin or wherever, the recycling.
You haven't binned it, have you?
Yeah.
Alan.
Well, what am I going to do with it?
Sell it to Mikey.
I don't sell stuff, I can't be arsed.
I give you money for it.
I can't. I've got all the faff of wrapping it and all that crap. It's done. It's paid for itself. It's finished.
Right. Did you have any good times with it?
It was work.
Right. Okay. Well, by the way, do you remember looking back on last Sunday when you had technical problems? Rather intriguing. As soon as the program attempted to start, I got 5 phone calls in the first 25 minutes, and I had to sort of say to people, I'm not a spokesman as to what's happening, because we didn't really know for quite some time exactly what had happened. We didn't know whether you'd had an accident but did you have to have a new box or something? No. They just fixed it.
I don't know what they did.
Right. Anyway, it's been terrific. It's been perfect fine.
I don't know. I have this thing here that I talk into, and everything else is a mystery to me, and I have no interest in it whatsoever as long as I get the money.
Okay. Right, from one anorak to a non-anorak, I bid you goodbye.
Thank you. I'll do Morin.
Oh, hello, Alan. About local radio, I just think that we need to, if people maybe to ring into the BBC and complain about losing it. I've done it a couple of times. The BBC taking £3.8 billion from licences. And I just wonder if, there's a thing called the public service.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wondered, is that to do with radio as well? That they are required. I'm just reading this now. They're required by law to provide certain types of content, which are considerable beneficial to the public good.
Mm-hmm.
These include content over the UK. So I just wonder if that would apply to radio.
Well, it does apply to radio, and the BBC, whatever happens, whatever changes fall upon BBC Local Radio, the BBC will still be honouring its obligations under the Charter. It's not breaching its Charter by no longer having 40 radio stations operating 24 hours a day independent of each other. They're not in breach of Charter by doing that, or by ceasing to do that and amalgamating 2 or 3. So it would still be fully honouring its Charter with the proposed changes.
Yes, I suppose so. Just I think it's very important for people to be able to air their views, like on your programme.
Well, it is important to be able to, but it has to be able to be afforded. And when your money is effectively diminishing, even though it stays the same, inflation, and we know what that's running at the moment, inflation eats into the costs, and when that happens, you can't up your price, because the licence fee is regulated by the government, so you can't increase the amount of money you get to a large extent. If it's costing you more to do what you are already doing, it's not like they're not spending the 3.4 billion they get every year. Oh, well, we'll save some of it. They don't. It all gets spent. So when you have effectively less money, you have to do less stuff. And it's not just local radio that's changing, it's changing all over the place. It's no coincidence that quite a lot of presenters who were on phenomenal amounts of money by standards have said, I'm leaving, and the BBC has said, well, OK then, we're sorry to see you go, but if somebody else is going to give you 600,000 where we're only giving you 300,000, why wouldn't you go? But we can't give you 6. And then you think, well, we're quite glad now because we haven't got to give somebody 3. We can get somebody else to do it for 2. So it's not just local radio. All the, I mean, this is routine, but according to one report I read last week, all the television news presenters, the Hugh Edwardses of this world, they've received letters inviting them to apply for redundancy.
Yes.
So the BBC has got less money, it is therefore going to do less stuff.
I suppose so. I just wondered, I thought they should leave radio alone, at least for another 5 years, to all the old days have gone, past and gone, because I don't think...
Hang on. If the old days are all dead, it won't be that there's no old days left. It'll just be people all over, provided they've been born, they'll be 5 years older.
Yeah, I know, but I was...
So there'll still be old days.
But there won't be many young people ever wanting to listen to local radio.
Well, that is part of the problem, that local radio isn't serving a younger audience in the way it ought to. Local doesn't mean old, it means local. For all ages. And local radio's audience is higher up the age scale than others, but the whole process of listening to the radio is changing. You heard all that tedious stuff we were just on about with Mike. It's all changing. It's the radio, a very large proportion of people who say I am listening to the radio actually aren't. No. They're hearing the programmes made for the radio, but they're hearing them on a speaker, one of these computer-based speakers, or they might be hearing it on their television.
Yes, I suppose so now, yes.
So more and more people are leaving radios. They don't bother with them, and in 10 years' time, no one will have a radio. Nobody. There won't be any point. There'll be nothing on it.
Really? You think that will happen?
It's going to disappear. Well, why not? It's already... Well, many people, I don't know the proportions, I wish I did, because I'd tell you, but a very high proportion of the people who are listening to this right now are not listening to it via a traditional radio, a signal coming out of the sky. They're listening to it...
I listen on the radio.
Well, you are, but people are listening to it on their telephone, they're listening to it on their television, they're listening to it on their computer, they're listening to it on their thingamajig, the name of which I can't say, else it'll start talking or some crap in people's houses, but they're listening to it in all sorts of places. And I get letters off people saying, I was listening to your programme as I was driving along the other day, and I'm thinking, where are you going at 1 o'clock in the morning? But they're not. They're recording it, or getting enough BBC sounds, and listening to it the following day.
Yeah, all right.
So radio, even now, strip radio, as we used to call it, is no longer being listened to at the time we, the BBC, say you should listen to it. Beswicks on 10 till 1, Saturday and Sunday. That's when you bloody well listen to it. And if you're not there, tough. Well, no. You go on BBC Sounds, you can listen to me saying this in 3 weeks' time.
Yeah, I suppose so.
We got an email off a bloke the other day who said, I'm just flying over Calderstones in my small plane, listening to you. And he took a photograph. I don't know who was driving when he did. He took a photograph of the cockpit, and there in the corner, staring out, was my photograph. Because he was listening off sounds. And that was... That was in the afternoon. He's listening to it a day later, flying a bloody plane.
Oh, right. Well, he must
so it's all changing. Well, he must do, yeah, but there's no accounting for taste. He must do.
I've got a television and a radio. Yeah, that's me, so old. So I thought,
old indeed. I know the feeling.
Good night.
Good night, Morin. 0800 218 2255. The BBC, the changes coming in local radio are driven by two things. I mean, they'll say not to save money, but we know that's cobblers. They've got less money. They're spending less. But, more importantly, they're going to serve the local radio audience in a different way, and they're slowly going to migrate local radio. Over time, it won't happen tomorrow, but migrate local radio to the internet, to the various different computer style of listening places. So why wouldn't they? That's where it goes. I'll do Jeff.
Oh, good evening, Alan. I heard on the radio this morning that the goats on Great Ormond on the rampage in the town again.
Right.
Are they bothering you at all?
I'm not bothered by them. I quite like them.
Yeah, well, I do. But, that's what they were saying. They're talking of doing a cult and moving half of them to somewhere else, it says.
Well, there was a plan. I only read about this in the local paper, so I don't know anything. I wasn't here at the time, but there's a plan a few years ago when they were going to do a cull, and they do that, of course, by shooting them. Shooting the old and decrepit ones so that there are fewer. And there was a public outrage, so they didn't bother. So now they're overrun with goats, serves the buggers right. But I was driving through Llandudno it's last year sometime now, and I got to the traffic lights by Asda. I was going on into the town. I got to the lights by Asda, and you couldn't get into the Asda car park because there were goats fighting. I think that's brilliant.
I know when I was there last year, the people were complaining that the gardens are being destroyed.
Ah, well, so what? Dear God, who cares? Mind you, if they came in my garden, I'd take an entirely different view. but my garden's a good way away from there, so I don't care. I think it's quite entertaining. Right.
Okay, then.
The goats of Llandudno. I know a bloke whose girlfriend brought out T-shirts and she sold thousands of them, apparently. How do, David?
Hi, Alan. I like the sound of the Ulster fry. I was planting Ulster Prince seed potatoes yesterday.
Yeah.
So they'd go well together.
Yeah, well, you might get a shock with them. With the predicting frost for the next 3 days.
No, really? Oh,
yeah.
No. Oh.
I don't think it'll be. If you'll pardon the expression, I don't think it'll be penetrative. So your spuds should be right.
No, that's it. Yeah, they've gone. I planted them late this time. They should have gone in, about 3 or 4 weeks ago. But
well, I thought
that
my dad always said that you put them in on March the 17th, St Patrick's Day.
That's right. That's it.
Yeah.
About that time. Yeah.
And an old farmer told me the right time to plant potatoes, if you want to check, is when the ground's warm enough. And what you do is you drop your trousers and sit on the ground. If you get a cold arse, you don't plant them. But that's farmers for you. They're very technical. But yeah, 17th of March, and mine went in on the 17th of March, so we shall
right.
see.
So you've planted some yourself, have you? Recently?
Oh yeah, I've been earthing them up yesterday.
Oh right, very good. Well, I'm like yourself. I remember you once saying you like them when they're very small, the potatoes. When you first dig them, the first earlies.
Well, yeah, because otherwise, what's the point?
Exactly. You just end up with these great big.
Yeah, that you can get for tuppence a pound at the greengrocers. So I bother.
Oh yeah, exactly.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
You see people. These peas. Why would anyone grow peas? Well, people do. Yeah, bloody hell! And you've got to eat peas for 3 months. Crying out loud! Because we can only harvest them at the time, But these pea harvesters, they go through the fields, and they're out the ground and they're frozen. There,
you see all these machines.
Oh, my God!
Oh yeah. I know. I see all these machines now on farms, and it's just mind-blowing because I've done a lot of work, on farms, helping out over the years. And when you think about it, I know you've said yourself you've done the same, and it really is back-breaking work, really.
Yeah,
a lot of
for
it.
what?
But, for what, exactly?
you get them at the same... yours are ready when they're coming in their bloody thousands of tons at a time.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I must admit, I grow tomatoes in the greenhouse, but they work out about 5p each. At a time when they're giving them away in the bloody shop, but they are different because the way you grow them and the chemicals you don't use on them.
Well, that's right. Yeah. I know that sort of in recent times they've been short, but those are the ones that have been coming from abroad. Normally they would have been, but I mean years ago everything was seasonal anyway, wasn't it? But that's just how it was. We just never thought of having certain things at certain times.
I told the tale about my Jersey Royals the other day. I like telling this tale. And I one year thought, Jersey Royals are the best potatoes you can get. They're fabulous. So I got some. Yeah. And I kept them aside. And I put them in sand in the greenhouse, thinking I'll have them on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
Came out on Christmas Day, scraped the sand away, and there they were, rotted. Oh, bloody hell, I've done that wrong. Yeah. So I did it again. I told my dad about it, and he just said, well, that's life. So that was that. So I did it again the next year, and there they were, rotted. And I said to my dad, they're rotted again. And he said, well, I didn't like to tell you last year, but you do know that F1 hybrids, don't you?
Right.
You can't get anything from them. You can't grow anything from them. He said they don't send them out. They're too precious. They don't send out the seed potatoes. They just send
no.
Just send out the hybrid. Yeah. I'm trying to grow potatoes. All I've done is wait about 20 quid on Jersey Royals. There you go.
Yeah. There is. I think there's quite a lot of enjoyment in growing stuff. If you can, I mean, I don't have a lot of space for it, but I try and utilise it to the best of my ability. And, it's just a bit of fun, really, and hopefully get something tasty at the end of it.
Yeah.
But, you've played the Kate Bush record before, and I was just thinking then about her. I went to concert many years ago in London, this particular venue, and there was a different singer-songwriters on it. Anyway, I was just exiting the venue, I was walking along this corridor, very quiet in there, and it was the worst, somebody was behind me. And I turned around and it was Kate Bush.
Really? Oh,
yeah, she was leaving at the same time as I was.
Yeah.
And
Did you say hello?
One or two. Oh, yeah, she was very, very pleasant, charming lady. And this is about 30-odd years ago now. And, but I've seen one or two well-known people, just by chance. But I never, ever talk about their work, or I just sort of speak to them like I would anybody else, because I think they must get sick and tired of hearing about, what they do or what they've done.
Yeah.
I don't know, but that's, because they must, especially now with that was a long time ago, but now with the, the advent of the mobile phone, if a lot of people see somebody well known, they want these selfies, and it must be damned annoying, really.
Must be.
Yeah.
Nobody ever asked for one with me. I wonder why that is, David, but good to hear from you, mate. How do Anthony?
Oh, good evening. Good morning now, Alan, again. Just a quick point. Mike was talking about Revolution number 9 on the White Album, and that's meant to be played backwards. It took me about 30 years to work that out, by the way, because some of the, Beatle books used to have these chapters saying, "Turn me on, dead man." And I just thought, what on earth is this all about? And if you play Revolution number 9 backwards, that's the first words you hear. Turn me on, Batman. Turn me on, dead man. And
how can a set of words that end in 9, when you turn it backwards, how can it say "turn me on"? It would say "enin." The first word would be "enin."
Oh no, that's going to be the end of the track, isn't it?
No, if you're doing it backwards, the end of the track is the beginning. You may not understand what backwards means. Who knows? But the end of the track will be the beginning. And the last word on the track is 9. So the first word, if you play it backwards, would be "enin."
Well, I'm not too sure. Anyway, I just thought
that is patently obvious, Anthony. Thank you. How do Mark?
Hi, Alan. You okay?
I'm very well, thank you.
Oh, great. This emergency call, the message we had today at 3 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
And they said that a lot of the smartphones didn't receive the message.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason is, if you've got a 3G phone, which is third generation, what is it? Third generation cellular technology phone. If it's 4G or 5G, it will work. But 3G, which mine's an old phone, so it doesn't. So I didn't receive it either.
Well, fair enough.
Did you?
I haven't got a phone.
Oh yeah, you keep it in the boot, the glove compartment, I think, don't you?
I'll keep it in the car.
But the thing is, Alan, I think that was a pre-warning. Well, it's kind of building us up for in case there's something such as a nuclear war.
And what will it say?
I don't want to...
Just imagine. Hang on. Just think about the logic of that. A nuclear war. What's it going to say? Goodbye, you're going to fry. That's all it could say. What's it going to say? Hide under the stairs like the crap they told us last time. Take the doors off and hide under them. What bloody crap. It's nonsense.
Yeah, but that's the same kind of thing, isn't it?
No, it's different. You're trying to say it's the same. It's not. They're not going to... Listen, imagine what would happen if everybody in Britain that has the relevant type of phone, and one's much the same as another to me, got a message saying, we're about to receive a nuclear attack. What would that achieve?
Nothing.
So why would they send it?
Well, I've looked up into this, and it did say that if ever we're in that situation, that we will receive a text message from the government, some kind of alarm.
Saying, there's a nuclear weapon coming this way. Take all the precautions you can. In other words, start digging a hole to bury yourself in.
Yeah. That's what I thought. But honestly, Alan, I swear, I read that. I saw a documentary on it.
Mark, I'm not for 1 second suggesting you didn't read it. My
I'm not saying it's
surprise
true,
is you believe it.
Well, it just if there was a fire, we're not going to have the Great Fire of London, are we? Or the Great Fire of the
I bet they thought that in 1066. We're going to have a big fire. Don't be ridiculous. Oh, bloody hell, it's a light.
Yeah, but it seems a bit odd, doesn't it, that they're only doing it now? You know, to me, it seems a little bit odd. Why are they doing that?
So that if we need to be given a message, they will have a process by which to do so. And because it's mobile phones and you get your message from transmitters, those transmitters operate individually, so they could send a message from a particular transmitter that would say, in your area there is going to be an almighty flood, or the power has gone out. Don't worry about it, we're working on it.
So it's not a national alert. It could be one area.
It would be specific to a given area.
Right. Okay, then. Well, I thought it was going to be a national.
Well, I thought you said you read all about it. It would have said that in the article.
Well,
so you should have read to the second line. Have a good night. And it wasn't 1066, of course. It was 1666. Come on, I'm 600 years out. In history, that's nothing. How do Jacqueline?
Hello, Alan. Or should I call you Percy Thrower? Did you know you can grow your own mushy peas?
Right. How do you grow mushy peas? I mean, I know what dried peas are. You can grow peas and then mush them, but I don't know you can grow them already mushed.
No. The dried peas are the ones that go mushy peas, aren't they?
Well, the morifats, so it depends on which ones are dried, but mushy peas are usually morifat peas.
If you grow those, soak them and let them sprout and grow those, and then you've got your own mushy peas. But you haven't got mushy peas, you've just got peas. You would have to mush them yourself. No, in the cooking. They go mushy in the cooking.
Well, like I said, they don't start out mushy. You'll be telling me next, if you plant King Edwards, you've got mashed potato. You haven't, you've got potato, which you then mash.
No. It's the type of pea that goes to mush.
Yes, morifats.
Yeah. But you can grow those, but then you have to be very, very careful in the cooking of them, because if you put too much water, then you've got water. Pea water.
And most people put a little bit of salt and the like in with them as well. But you're not growing mushy peas, you're growing peas that can be mushed. You can also have morifats out of the garden, as it were, and you can cook those for rather less time and they won't turn to mush.
You can grow mushy or peas that are mushy peas.
No, you can grow the peas that if you treat them the right way, they will become mushy. But you can't grow the tins. Have a good night. Dear God. So you grow some peas, throw them in a pan, look at the pan 2 minutes later, and you've got sludge. Balderdash. Ah, well, it's a full life, isn't it? In the fabulous world of the Northwest. Ah, 'tis grand. Grand and grand. I've read an article all about it. Oh, it never said that bit, never said that bit, never said that bit. I've been Beswick, you've been brilliant, but then you always are. See you Saturday at 10. Till then, ta-ra.
BBC News at 1 o'clock. This is Charlie Jones. British diplomats and their families have been rescued from the fighting in Sudan in an operation described by the government as difficult, dangerous and precarious. There's been more than a week of fighting in the country between the army and a rival paramilitary group. Britons in Sudan have been told to contact the Foreign Office. William, a UK citizen, told the BBC his employer had hired a bus so people could escape.
I'm on a bus with about 50 adults and about 15 children. We're making quite slow progress but steady progress. So the idea is we continue going for the next 2 days up to the Egyptian border, and then we're sort of safe. We've had absolutely nothing but nonsense from the government, not even nonsense. We've had nothing.
The former Shadow Home Secretary, Diane Abbot, has been suspended from the Labour Parliamentary Party for suggesting that Jewish, Irish and traveller people suffer prejudice but not racism. Her letter in the Observer newspaper prompted an outcry on social media, and she later apologised, saying she wanted to unreservedly withdraw the remarks. Our political correspondent Helen Catt reports.
Diane Abbot was the first black woman to become an MP and is a prominent campaigner on issues of racial justice. In a letter responding to an article about race, she suggested that Jewish, Irish and traveller people experience prejudice, which she said was similar to racism, and the two words were often used as if they were interchangeable. She went on to say that redheads can experience this prejudice, but they are not all their lives subject to racism. She has since withdrawn the remarks, suggesting that an initial draft had been sent in error.
Police in Kenya say they found 47 bodies thought to be from a cult whose members believed they'd go to heaven if they starved themselves to death. The group is known as the Good News International Church. Its former leader's in police custody. He denies wrongdoing. Researchers say that a record amount was spent on weapons last year across the world. The SIPRI Institute, which looks at conflicts, said nearly £2 trillion was spent. The United States, the biggest spender, has a military budget about 3 times that of China. Russia is in a distant third place. SIPRI calculates Ukraine's military spending has risen by more than 600% since it was invaded last year. A new opinion poll for BBC Panorama suggests that less than a third of 18 to 24-year-olds want the monarchy to continue. The online poll was carried out by YouGov from the 14th to the 17th of April. Jane Corbyn has the details.
In July 2013, a YouGov poll suggested 75% of British people supported it. Since then, support has been drifting downwards. And the new YouGov poll for Panorama suggests 58% still want a monarchy. It also suggests young people are least likely to support the monarchy. Just 32% of 18 to 24-year-olds polled say they want it to continue.
BBC News. It's 3 minutes past 1.
Compelling conversation.